everybody. I am so excited to be sitting with Jordan Syatt today. At over 812,000 followers and a massive business, I am almost positive that you all know who he is already. Jordan is the owner of Syatt Fitness and the wildly popular Inner Circle membership. Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited. Okay. Before we get started on all the business cues and all the fun things, your Instagram bio says that you are a 27th degree black belt in chugging coffee. So I need to know, how do you drink your coffee and how many cups a day are you drinking?
So I drink it black. Occasionally I do like an iced coffee. And if I have iced coffee, I'll put a little bit of milk in it, or like an iced espresso. But usually just hot and black is how I have it. And man, I've been through a lot of different phases with my caffeine intake.
Yeah.
For years, I was drinking a lot. I was drinking way too much. And then I did a YouTube video about a year ago. Basically, I did this whole YouTube video where, because a lot of people think coffee dehydrates you. It's a super common myth. They're like, oh, coffee dehydrates you because of the caffeine. And it's actually not true. If you look in the research, it's not. So I did an entire video where all I drank for 24 hours was coffee, and I measured my hydration. And it came out like I was not dehydrated. I was actually overly hydrated. The issue was that I had over 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. And so like ever since then, if I have too much, my heart starts going crazy. So like now I keep it pretty low. I keep my caffeine. It takes like 1 cup of coffee a day at most. Okay. But yeah, so lately I've been keeping it low and just maintaining that 27th degree black belt. I'm not going for my 28th degree anytime soon, but
That's amazing. I love it. And that makes me feel so much better. I feel like every time I have 2 or even like a 3rd cup, I get all freaked out about the dehydration thing. I'm like compensating with electrolytes. I get all nervous about it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to
No,
hear
I mean,
this.
it's just water filtered through beans.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
And people think that like, well, the caffeine is a diuretic. It's like, that's true. It is a diuretic, but it's not going to cause you to pee out more than you drink. So it's net hydration.
Got it. Oh, amazing. Okay. Now that we have that settled, can you do a brief introduction of yourself, starting with maybe where you're located and how you spent your day so far?
Yeah, so I'm in Dallas now. My wife and I moved to Dallas about a year ago in April, and I was in New York before that for 5 years, and Israel before that, and Boston before that, and so been all over. And today I woke up and went to jujitsu, and my wife had a doctor's appointment where we're expecting a baby in August, so
Congratulations.
had a doctor's appointment to make sure everything's going okay. And I did a live Q&A. I have a couple different businesses, but one of them is to teach coaches how to be better coaches and how to build their own business. So I did a 2-hour live Q&A for that group today. And then I just had a little bit of lunch. I had I'm Jewish, so I had like the most Jewish lunch you can imagine, just like the bagel and lox and cream cheese. So I had that, which is just great. And then I have this, and then I have I'm going to get my workout in, and then a podcast after that. And I'll call it a night. Yeah.
Busy day. I love it. So, okay, I posted on social yesterday that we were recording and was asking people, what questions do they have for you, all along the lines of, just what do they want to know? 3 people messaged me back and said that they were so excited and they love to follow you because of your quote unquote intolerance for bullshit. Where do you think that comes from? It is definitely a reason I love to follow you. So I know other people feel the same. Where does it come from?
Thank you. That means a lot. I've wondered that because it's very, like, I remember on my first ever website, which I made in 2011, I wrote on the homepage of the website, I said something to the effect of like, I'm not going to waste your time with bullshit. That was like literally right on the homepage in big, big letters. And my mom was so upset about it. She was so mad. She was like, you shouldn't be cursing on your website. No one's ever going to want to work with you if you're cursing. Just like super traditional. I think part of it is it's just how I was always like, I was always like that. Part of it, I also think, is I grew up around Boston, and Boston is a very no bullshit place. Like, even though my mom didn't like that I said that, my mom's a no bullshit person too. And that was just like what I was always brought up with. And I think if I went to the West Coast or someplace, sometimes people are a little bit jarred by like my straightforwardness, my bluntness, but East Coast, like if you're not straightforward, people don't like you. Like they don't want you to beat around the bush. Like just say it like it is, no bullshit. So I think that's how I was just brought up.
I love that. I notice it comes through a lot when you post about, the basics of health, like walking and, just a calorie deficit, like all these things that are so basic in theory, but have somehow become so controversial. What do you feel like, without calling anyone out, what do you think most of the bullshit is right now from trainers and, quote unquote health influencers?
I could make an entire, the amount of bullshit could fill a library. Like that would be a long time. I think so. Everything goes and comes in fads and waves, right? Like even right now, keto is huge right now, but like keto has been huge for years in so many different names. It's just all about marketing and repackaging something to make it look like it's new and unique. That's a lot of what you learn in marketing is like, you just want a unique twist to something. And that's everything is the fucking same. It's like, you look at Atkins or whatever it is. It's like, oh, it's been around for years and years and years. As of right now, for whatever reason, there's a huge push against fruit, which is just fucking mind-boggling to me that people are acting like, I couldn't imagine a greater waste of time than telling someone to be cautious of eating fruit. Like what a stupid fucking thing to spend your time on, especially if you're a health professional. No one got fat from eating blueberries, like fucking relax. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that for me is probably the biggest one. And even whether it's keto or intermittent fasting, like there are things that I like and don't like about both of them. For me, it's more like the don't eat fruit is like, that just sticks out in my brain. It's just like, I have a conniption every time I hear it. Like, oh my God, like my old trainer, like told me not, like, be careful of the grapes. Like really, was the grapes packed on the last 50 pounds? Really? That was it? It was like, relax. So for me, that's
like
probably
the sugar is sugar thing. And I'm like, that's not true.
It's not true at all. So from a nutrition perspective, that one also, and I've been pushing hard against this for the last few months now, but the idea that you need to be doing super high intensity interval training just is, it's more damaging than it is helpful. And again, that's more of, it stemmed from a marketing perspective, and then it seeped into what trainers now believe is actual factual knowledge, thinking that high intensity interval training is better. It started because these companies intelligently know that when you make something sound unique and special and that you can do a lot more in less time, then they're going to get more people to buy it. Right. So it's like you have a business built around super fast results. You get like, you don't have to work out for nearly as much time, but you get better results. Well, cool. I'll sign up for that. But the reality is that's not how it works. So promoting walking, promoting low intensity cardio, promoting getting more sleep, promoting drinking water, promoting eating fruits and vegetables, which is like, there's not much money behind promoting that stuff, but it's true.
Yeah. And I love, especially, I just think you do such a great job at saying like, there's space for everything and it can all fit in, because I'm a marketing coach for health and wellness companies. And what I always get so crazy when I see people preaching like their way as God, right? Like strength training is the only way. Cardio is the only way. Like this is the HIIT is the only way. And I'm like, stop cannibalizing yourself. Like people need to go outside. I don't care if you're a strength coach. I know what the data says about lifting and all of that, but like, that doesn't mean that people shouldn't be going for a walk and getting their steps in. So we still need to be talking about that. And I've honestly integrated way more steps lately because of all of your posts. I'm like, awesome. Every time I see something of like, 7K and it like your all cause mortality is going to decline, I'm like, yep, I have 40 minutes.
It's crazy.
Go for a walk right now.
And to your point as well, I mean, if you build your business based around like one methodology, it doesn't allow your business to grow as you grow. Like I see people who make their entire business based around intermittent fasting. Like they're like the intermittent fasting coach. I'm like, well, what if in 3 years, like you're not a huge fan of intermittent fasting anymore? Or what if you get clients who they don't do well with intermittent fasting, but you're the intermittent fasting coach? Like you've dug yourself a hole that you now must do this. Whereas if you incorporate everything, or at least are open to everything, you can continue to grow with your business and people can continue to follow you as you get smarter. Cause like, if you think already, everything, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like you can't grow as more research comes out. So I would
Yeah.
not dig your own grave by making you are like the intermittent fasting person, or you are the keto person, or you are the HIIT person. Like there's so much more to do.
Absolutely. Walk me back to the beginning of your health and fitness journey. Where did it start? When did you get into all this stuff?
So I got into it from wrestling. I'm short dude, short Jewish guy. I'm 5'4". I'm 140 pounds. But so I come from a super short family, and my mom wanted my brother and I to be able to defend ourselves. So she put us in wrestling, and I was 8 years old. And I remember we were sitting in our living room, and my mom walked in. She was like, "Hey, I'm gonna put you two in wrestling." And the only wrestling that I knew at that time was WWE, like just that type of wrestling. So I remember I was like, "You want me to hit someone with a chair?" She was like, "No, you idiot. Like it's Olympic style wrestling," which I had no idea what that was, but
Yeah.
she put us into it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I was so obsessed with it. It's all I thought about. And by the time I got to high school, I had already been wrestling for like 5 years or so. So I made varsity as a freshman, and I was 14 years old, and I was mainly competing against 17, 18-year-olds because I was on varsity. And so my technique was good and my endurance was good. But my strength wasn't where it needed to be. As a 14-year-old kid competing against 17, 18-year-olds, that strength discrepancy is pretty dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was living in a town called Sudbury, Massachusetts, and I applied to a gym in Newton, Massachusetts. I basically was like, I'll take the trash out. I'll clean the floors. I'll do whatever you want. I'll scrub the mats, whatever you need. I'll do it. Just like, let me come learn from you. And I was very lucky because number one, they took me under their wing. And number two, they were unbelievably science-based. They were just, it was so lucky that this is the gym that took me in, because they were super science-based. They introduced me to the science-based fitness community at 14 years old. So I didn't really waste much time with the bullshit that so many coaches spend so many years on. So from 14 years old, I worked in that gym all the way through high school. And it was a very kettlebell focused gym. So, but they introduced me to Eric Cressy and Dan John and Joel Jamieson and Mike Roberts and some like the OGs of the fitness industry. And so that's sort of how I got into it. And ever since then, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Wow. So what came next? Were you like, okay, now I want to train people one-on-one, or did you see a bigger vision for that?
So, I mean, this is what, 2005, 6, 7. So online coaching didn't exist at that point. So I thought I wanted to open a gym, and I thought I, wanted to coach people in person. That's like what I just assumed was the right move.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up happening is after high school, I took a year off. I wanted to travel. So I went to Israel for a year, and I spent a year living in Israel. I volunteered with Holocaust survivors, and it was like one of the most amazing years of my life. But what I started doing there is I started like these beach boot camps with locals, which actually helped me learn Hebrew, but also helped me as a coach. And I really realized like, this is what I love. Like I
Yeah.
love coaching people. So, and
Yeah.
I did it for free. I would take them down to the beach and just like get a group of locals every like couple times a week. And we just work. And I would take, like these like nylon back straps, like they're not huge backpacks, but like nylon and the string tie or whatever it's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
I would fill those up with sand, and we'd have like these
Wow.
sandbags on the beach, and it was awesome. Super fun workouts.
Oh my
And
God.
and then, so by the time I came back to the States the next year, I went to University of Delaware. I was like, I want to be a coach. Like, this is what I want to do. So I originally went for exercise science, and I fucking hated it. The teachers were awful. They were focusing on stuff that was outdated by many, 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 many decades. And all the stuff that I had already learned for the last 5, 6 years coaching at that gym and then on my own, it was like, these teachers have no idea what they're talking about. So, but what I did learn through coaching for so many years before that was, you don't like, it doesn't matter if you have the perfect program, the perfect nutrition plan, the perfect workout. If people aren't following it, they're not going to see results. So I ended up switching my focus to behavioral health psychology. So to understand why people are making the health decisions they're making. Like everyone knows that they should eat more fruits and vegetables. Everyone knows they should be working out, but why aren't they doing it? Right. So I
Wow.
wanted to learn the psychology of that. And that was probably the best decision I made in regard to my education, because I really got into the psychology of why people are making these decisions and how to help them make the right behavioral changes.
Yeah.
And at this time I had started to competitively powerlift as well. And I ended up making a website in July of 2011, just because I wanted to help people. And all of the coaches that I looked up to in the industry at that time had websites. And they were like, Instagram didn't exist. They were using mainly Facebook and their websites as a way of communicating and helping people. So I made a website, and I just started writing articles one time a week, just like, and making YouTube videos. Like my YouTube videos, you can still see them. They're all there. You go to YouTube, go to my channel, you go, like, you can organize it by the most recent, the oldest, and the most popular. You look at the oldest videos. Oh my God, they were awful. They were so bad. Video quality, terrible. Sound quality, awful. I was so nervous. I was red in the face. I was moving side to side. My website was terrible. I didn't have any money for anyone to design it. So I used a free template, and it just looked fucking awful. But I made at least one article a week every week. And these weren't bullshit articles. These weren't like 250 words. These were like at least 2,000 to 3,000 word articles every single week. I did that from 2011 to 2015. And that was like, at least on my site. Never mind, as I started to build more of an audience, I ended up getting guest articles on other websites and all that. So I had like 500 articles over the course of those years, and some of those SEO really well. So people still find my website through that. And that was it. And then I remember I was in college, and finally, like for the whole first year, I didn't make any money through my website, which was actually a good thing, because I didn't know, like, again, I wasn't trying to be an online coach. I thought I was going to make my own gym.
Yeah.
I didn't know online coaching was possible. I didn't know people would pay someone online for that. This is like, it wasn't a thing yet. So I remember I had been coaching some people all for free. And one day I get an email from a woman in Brazil, and I'm like a sophomore in college now. And she's like, "Hey, Jordan, I like your website a lot. I was wondering, how much do you charge for online coaching?" And I was like, what the fuck? I like couldn't believe someone asked that. And so literally I was just like, $300 for 12 weeks. I just made it up.
Oh my God.
And she was like, and I was like, there's no way this woman's gonna do it. And she was like, okay, cool. How do I sign up? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, $300. That was a lot of money to me at the time. Like, that was a lot of money. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And so then I had to Google like how to do like money transfers online. And then I found this thing called paypal.com, and I got a PayPal account, and I sent her the link, and I was like, there's no way this woman who I've never met or spoken to before is going to send me $300 for workouts for 12 weeks. And then I see it come through, and I get $300 in my account, and I freaked out. My roommate had just got back from doing a double shift at their like server job. They made like $150, and they were so happy. And I was like, I just made 300 fucking bucks sitting on my computer. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then I spent the next like 72 hours trying to design the perfect program. Like I wanted to make this the most amazing program in the entire world. I was super nervous that when I would send it to her, she was going to be like, really, this is all I get for $300? So I spent literally 3 days straight at this. There was a coffee shop at my school called Brouhaha. And I sat at Brouhaha for 3 days straight, for one person's program for 3 days. And I tried to do it the entire 3 days, finally sent it to her, super nervous she wasn't going to like it. And she was like, oh, this is amazing. And that's how it kickstarted. And then I started taking on clients online. And by the time I graduated college, I had a fully functional online business. I wasn't killing it, but I remember my mom said to me, when I graduated, she was like, so you're going to have to get a job now. And I was like, I don't think so. I think I'm good. And my mom's like a super hardworking Jewish mother. She was like, what the fuck do you think? You're like, what do you mean you don't have to get a job? And I was like, well, I'm coaching people online. And again, this isn't a thing at the time. And even now people like coaching online, even though it's huge, like, how do you coach people online? I was like, yeah, I've been personal training people online. And she was like, well, how much money you're making? And I told her, and immediately like her jaw drops, and she was like, are you paying taxes? And I was like, no. Like, I had no one ever taught me about that. Like, that would have been a great class to have in college, or high school. So no one, and so then like I had to figure that out. But then I had my own online business, and then I ended up moving back to Israel, and I lived there, and I just did my online business from there.
What a story. Oh my God. I mean, so many things jump out. I'm like literally taking notes as you're talking, because there's so much I want to circle back on. Number one, I love that you took a gap year and you just like allowed yourself. I think Is that something that you feel like you're going to want your kids to do?
Without question. Yeah. They are
Yeah.
not going to school right out of high school. It's a fucking
Yeah.
waste of money. It's
Yeah. I totally
and
agree.
it's such an important time to learn more about yourself, learn more about other cultures.
Mhm.
Everyone seems to be in this race to figure out their job in their life. It's like, and they're missing out on life.
Yeah.
It's like, go travel. I'm gonna, like, if I could have them do a gap 3 years, I'll have them do that. I think that would be better than going to college right away.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's just so cool that you gave yourself that time to see what you really liked to do and connect with people and develop that skill and that passion. Because I think so many people, you're right, like they go straight into college, they spend 4 years there dulling down their passion. And then finally, by the time they're 22, then they get to explore it. And then you're like,
Exactly.
okay, what? And then by the time, and then you're like, what, 26, 27, and then your life is starting. It's like, why not? Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. I think that's awesome. I just
A
wanted to
huge
talk about
credit to
that.
my mom, because my mom copped a lot of shit from other mothers, and
Oh, I'm
like
sure.
being
I'm
like, really,
sure.
like, they're not going to college, da 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 da
Yep.
da. And my mom, she was like, fuck you, like, this is the
Yep.
right move. So huge
Yeah.
respect to her.
Yeah. I love that. And then the other thing that really stuck out at me was the consistency of it all. Like you said, for an entire year, you made no money on the website, but you were
Oh yeah.
still consistent with it. I just think that's so amazing. And I know there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast that are really early in their journey. And this came up on the last episode too, of like playing the long game, right? Like when you first start a business, being so sad and let down in the first few months if it doesn't take off right away, or if you're not making a sale right away. So I mean, if you could go deeper into like what it took for you to show up every single week and how you kind of psyched yourself up, I think that would be massively helpful.
Yeah, it's a really important discussion. And the way I phrased it was very deliberate, because I remember I said, I didn't know an online business was possible. And that set me up for success. That is why I was okay, because I wasn't doing it for the sale. I had no idea when I started my website that I could make money from it. I had no clue. Whereas now people are starting their own Instagrams and websites specifically with the intent of making money from it. And there's nothing wrong with making money. It's totally fine. It can help you. It can help many people with the money that you make. But when your sole intent is to make money, and that it's sort of like when clients, like their sole intent is to lose weight for the sake of losing weight. Well, maybe they're losing inches, maybe they're getting healthier, maybe they're getting stronger, but the scale isn't going down the way they want. So then they quit. It's like, well, hold on, motherfucker. Like, you're getting stronger, you're healthier, you're off your blood pressure medication. You've lost inches, you feel better and more confident, but you're going to quit because the scale isn't going down. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? And coaches do this with their business all the time. It's like, you're impacting more people, you're getting messages from people saying thank you for writing this, but you haven't made a sale yet, so you're going to quit, or you didn't get as many likes as you wanted to post, so you're going to quit. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
So the main reason I didn't quit is because I didn't know that starting a business was possible. And I basically, my payment, and I put that in air quotes, like my payment was someone writing me a message saying thank you for that post. Was my payment was someone like commenting on the article being like, this was a really well written article, thank you so much. If I got one of those, that, and the entire 20 hours I spent writing that article was worth it. And that's not an exaggeration. Like people nowadays, when they make Instagram posts, they do it in like 7 minutes and they're like, oh God, that took forever. It's like, and this is actually why I talk about now. I think Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, these short form pieces of content, they have a time and a place, but I think the best place for people to begin is long form website articles. It's like, agree. People think that no one spends time doing that. It's like, where do you go if you have a question? You don't go to Instagram or TikTok. You go to Google. You type in a question, and you're either going to go to read an article or you're going to watch a YouTube video on it. So these long form pieces of content, they help you develop as a writer. They help you develop as a content creator. They actually help you get more people finding your website over the long term. It's people think now my business is run through Instagram. My business is run through my website. Like people find my website more than anything, more than like, even I have over 800,000 followers on there. I have over 150,000 on YouTube. Like my website is the biggest driver by far. So that's really the most important. But the thing for me was I had no idea that I could make money. So I was doing it because I loved it and because I was helping people. And when you do that, the money will come, but it's not going to come in a month. or 2 months or 3 months. It's very rare,
Yeah.
very rare. And for whatever it's worth, I have some really good friends and colleagues who exploded really fast on social media. Like 3 to 4 who I can name off the top of my head, or I won't. They exploded on social media and very early, and they were done within a year because it was so much attention so fast. They didn't know how to handle it. They didn't have their system set up, and they burned out and they had no idea what to do. And now they're working for other people. But when you start slow and steady and you gradually build your business over time, you can build your systems alongside with that so that when it does happen big, you're ready and prepared for it.
100%. I always say to every single person I have a consultation with or anything, if I gave you a million eyes on your business tomorrow, are you ready for it? And so many people always end up saying no, because of exactly that. They neglected the systems in the beginning and the consistency. And I think what you're saying about long form content is so amazing, because you can take all of your short form content from your one long blog post.
Correct.
All
Exactly.
these tweet style posts that are doing so well. They're so reshareable. They're great for growth. That's a sentence or two from your blog, like from your long form content. So I think that's your newsletter, right? Like it could be your script for your podcast. It's such an important thing to start there. And I completely agree. I think it gives you a sense of professional clarity that you don't get unless you force yourself to really draw on and extend upon one idea. So I love that. I just think that is absolutely amazing.
Most people don't want to hear it, but long form content is king. But like by far. It's funny, like I haven't written a long form article in years, but my long form articles that I wrote between 2011 and 2015 are still a massive driver of my business. Right now, my podcast is relatively the smallest of my entire social media in terms of YouTube, Instagram, all of that. Like it has the smallest audience, but the podcast actually has the highest conversion rate to my business.
Wow.
Because each one is at least an hour.
Yeah.
I would rather have 1,000 people listening to me for an hour straight than 100 million people like double tapping something on Instagram that they don't even have the time to read a full 60 seconds for. It's the long form content. It's the hardest to build and it takes the longest, but it is by far the best way to build a sustainable business for a long time.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. So let's talk about your Inner Circle membership. When did the Inner Circle membership, when did that come about? When were you like, okay, I need to reach a lot of people? Walk me through how you thought about that.
So what happened was, I'll start by saying I was doing only one-on-one coaching since I got that first client in 2012, the first online client. I was only doing one-on-one from 2012 to 2015. In December of 2015, I decided I was going to start my Inner Circle. Now, I should also say, I hired 4 business coaches and 3 of them sucked ass. And one of them was amazing. And I shouldn't say wasted. I spent many thousands of dollars on shitty business coaches before I found this one amazing one. Yeah. And it was great because at the time it sucked. Like I didn't have that much money to be spending on all this, but it was super worth it because it taught me what I didn't want to be like and what I didn't want to do with those other coaches. And once I found the right one, his name is Pat Flynn, amazing guy, incredible coach. He changed my life. It was like, okay, cool. This is my guy. This is what I want to be like. This is worth it. And sometimes you got to go through a bunch of shitty coaches until you find the one that works well for you. Yeah. So I was working with Pat and we decided we were going to launch my Inner Circle, and we launched it in December of 2015. So it was like right at the end of 2015. So I did like 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, all one-on-one. Wow. By the time I got to 2015, I had about 75, 80 one-on-one clients. And wow, it was a lot. And it was a blessing and it was great. And I was making more than I ever thought was possible, but I was spending like 15, 16 hours a day doing emails. It was a lot. It was too much. And I was like, I can't sustain this forever. So I was like, how do I do this? So we came up with the idea for the Inner Circle and I launched that. And when I launched the Inner Circle, I had an email list of, I don't know, a couple thousand people. I don't know, 2,000, maybe 3,000 at most. Like I didn't have a big audience. My Instagram was about 3,000 or 4,000 people. Like I didn't have a huge audience at all, but I had this, and that's actually a good point. Like I didn't have a huge audience, but I had like 80 one-on-one clients. And that's actually a lot of people are like, oh, you need to have hundreds of thousands. No, you don't. Like
Yeah.
If you have 1,000 followers on Instagram,
Mhm.
like you have more than enough right
Mhm.
there. Like that's plenty.
Yeah. Unless your product is literally $1, you
Yeah,
have enough followers and you have a big enough audience.
exactly.
Yeah.
So when we launched the Inner Circle, basically I ran a launch that was, if you join the Inner Circle right now, this was the opening launch to the Inner Circle. I was like, if you join right now, you can join for $1. That's what I was like, you can join for $1. And I said, that's not even it. I was like, if you don't like it, I will refund your $1. And not only will I refund your $1, I will pay you $1.
Oh my God.
So worst comes to worst, you make money if you do this, right? So I've got a couple thousand people on my email list. I only got 80 people signing up for it, which is like not bad, but like for the ability for them to literally make money on it, like it's not that great. So I got 80 people. One motherfucker asked for the refund plus the $1 on top of it, which I was like, what a dick, right? So I literally had to pay a guy $1, but
oh my God,
none of these other 79 didn't. Then over the course of the next probably like 3 to 4 months, the Inner Circle dwindled down to about 40 people. That was the lowest it ever got. So like people were canceling because they just weren't using it. Like no complaints. It was just like, I'm just not using it.
Yeah.
And I was still getting some signups, but the cancellations were exceeding the signups. And so it got down to about 40 people. But when I started the Inner Circle of December 2015, I said, I was like, I'm going to give it 1 whole year before I decide if it's worth it or not. So I was like, I have to give until December 2016 before I decide if this is something I'm going to quit. So then 40 was the lowest, and then it started to climb. And then within about a year, I was at about 100, and I was like, cool, I'm at 100 now. Like, so it seems to be worth it. And then 2 years go by, and I was about 200 members. And then I had an issue with the payment system, and I had to switch the entire payment system. It was through PayPal. Then I switched to Stripe. And to do that, I had to get everybody to sign up again. So I lost 50% of the people. So I went down to 100 members again, which was devastating at that time. And so, but then kept building back up. And then in the summer of 2017, I had built up to the point where one-on-one coaching was just so busy and so hectic. I told my assistant, I said, I can't accept any more one-on-one coaching clients. I need to focus on the Inner Circle. So from that point on, she didn't forward me any one-on-one coaching applications. It was just like everything. I kept my one-on-one clients, but I said, I'm not going to take on any more. Slowly, the one-on-one started to dwindle away, and all of my marketing effort was focused on the Inner Circle as opposed to the one-on-one, which was a very difficult shift for me, because if someone emails me wanting coaching, I could say, okay, I'm going to take $300 or $24.99 at that point, right? It's like, so it's very difficult for me to be like, oh, I'll just take $24.99, but I had to make that decision. It was a very scary, my mom talks about it all the time, how she'll never forget how scared I was to start the Inner Circle and do all this stuff. But I made that switch.
You were really making a stand for your long-term sustainability.
And worst comes to worst, I knew I could always go back to one-on-one.
Right.
Like I knew that was like worst case scenario. Cool. I'll go back to one-on-one. So I did that in July of 2017, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Wow. So that year that you gave yourself to really scale it, what did that look like for you on the back end? What were you doing? Was it YouTube promotions? Like, what were you trying to do to get people signed up?
So I've never been a huge fan of, and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying me personally, I've never been a huge fan of like super hard selling. Again, nothing wrong with it. And I know a lot of people do it and it's very successful. For me, I just fucking hate writing sales copy and like doing these huge launches. I just don't enjoy it. Yeah. I've done them before, but I'm a more of a fan of just continuous soft selling and soft mentions of basically just like, you know, one thing I've spoken about in my Inner Circle is X, Y, and Z. And one thing I do with my Inner Circle members is blah, blah, blah. And like, just like in my captions or in my videos or in my podcast, soft mentions of it. So people who watch and consume a lot of my content continuously hear about it. So I'm not trying to get them to buy it right now, but eventually they will. And so that's sort of been my strategy for years, where it's like, I don't want to have these big launches. I don't like doing it. They're stressful. I'd rather just continue to make great content and then just talk about it. And so that's what before my marketing was soft mentions of my one-on-one coaching. And then I just switched it from one-on-one to Inner Circle. And so instead of
Awesome.
saying like one thing my one-on-one online coaching clients do is I say like one thing that I do in my inner circle is da da da, and that was it. And like I talk about in Instagram captions, Instagram story, YouTube, podcast, website articles, like email newsletter. It was just the mentions were now about my inner circle instead of one-on-one coaching. And that was really it.
I love that. I feel the exact same way. I think I was having a conversation. I went to coffee with a friend the other day. She used to work for Solid Core, and we were talking about the difference in some of the fitness companies, right? Like you have the way that Equinox and Exponential does their sales and marketing, right? And it's a little more intense, a little more, they hold on to you really tightly. It's like hard to leave. Like it's really difficult to leave them.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, I worked for SoulCycle for many years. And at the beginning, you didn't even get a dollar discount on class packages. They were like, if you want to come back, you'll come back. And if you don't, you don't. And that's okay too. And that's so much how I like to approach it. It's just like, I'm here when you need me, and that's it. And like, whenever you decide that's right for you, that's great. And then we'll both be happier. No one's going to have a good experience by like holding really tight onto someone or like keeping them in a sales, cycle with you, or asking them, begging them to join anything.
Exactly right.
No one's going to have a good experience. So why not I love what you're saying. Just keep showing up, keep producing the content. And when they come, they come. And I just love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think sales copy is a really good skill to learn. And I did spend a couple of years really studying sales copy and reading a lot of books on it and practicing it. And I think it's a really good skill. But what I found is, as long as you're a great coach and you just help people continuously, they're going to trust you and they're going to want to work with you. And that's really it. And so for me, I enjoy making content. Like I love that. I don't like doing sales copy. So I might as well just make content and then just in a very genuine way, mention the things that I'm selling when it makes sense. I'm not going to forcefully put something about the inner circle in there if it doesn't belong. But if someone asks a question about it, or if I have something that, hey, like I do a live Q&A every week in my inner circle. So if someone asked a great question, maybe I'll discuss that publicly and say, hey, in my live Q&A in my inner circle, one of my members asked X, Y, and Z, and this is what we spoke about. And then people will ask, well, what's the inner circle? Like, could you tell me about that? Yeah, sure. Here's a link, swipe up. Like, if you want to learn more about it, go for it. If you have a question, email me. But like, I'm not trying to shove it down your throat.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay. Last question before we get into rapid fire questions. What now, like in this stage of your business, as you've grown the inner circle, what do you do daily? I know you said live Q&A. What goes into running the membership for you versus what does your team sort of handle?
Yeah. So it's been a big transformative process over the years when I was doing literally everything to now. So if all I said is what I do now, it wouldn't be fair. Like it wouldn't be like an accurate idea of what someone is getting into. When I first started, it was a mess. And when I say a mess, it was just mean I was literally I was the one answering my emails. I was the one doing like everything. The only thing, man, the inner circle has been through so many iterations, just like my one-on-one, it went through so many different iterations before I found what it is now. When I first started the inner circle, I didn't have a membership group. There was no Facebook group. There's no nothing. What I did is I went to my main website, which was syattfitness.com. And then I had a page on there that was a private page. And every month when the new edition came out on the first of the month, I would email all of the members a link to that page. And it was a password protected page. And then if they were a current member, they would get that email. If they weren't a current member, then they would be removed from that list automatically. And then they would just go in, and it was a PDF. Every month there's a PDF with workouts, nutrition, all that stuff. Now, and then I basically hired a web designer to make a private membership website, which is basically, they have their username, they have a login. It's much nicer, much easier to use. My idea was I will not pay for this website to be built until I make enough money from my inner circle to fund that website. So that was like, not from the money I've saved from one-on-one coaching, not from anything else. Like I must make enough money through my inner circle to fund this web development. And that's why it took several years for that to happen. Once I finally had that, I by that point I had an assistant who could help with the emails. And I was still doing everything by myself, but eventually, and you'll find this with basically any well-built community. We had a Facebook group at this point, and in any well-built community, you're going to have a few standout people in that community who love to help.
Mhm.
People who either previous clients or people who are just excited to help people. And I had one woman, her name is Susan Niebergall. She was someone would write in, they'd have a question in the Facebook group, and she would answer immediately. And it was the perfect answer.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what Susan said, like what Susan, like all the time. Like and I remember in my head thinking, if Susan leaves the inner circle, I'm fucked, because she's spending hours answering questions for free.
Wow.
So I called her and I was like, hey, do you want to come on as a coach and help me out? And she was super excited about it. And she was like, absolutely. And this was back in, I think, 2018. And now she's like my partner in the inner circle, and we do it together.
Wow.
And so she handles so much. So she handles like all the inner circle emails. My assistant handles my main email. She does the inner circle ones. And she comes to Dallas once a month, and we do the entire new edition. So we spend about 2.5 days making the new edition. We both do an hour live Q&A every week. So I do mine on Monday, hers is on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like 12 hours a month or so of free or live one-on-one coaching from us.
Yeah.
And then, but it takes about 2.5 days to put together the new edition. We do one new edition every month. So the new edition is the brand new workout program. We have nutrition guidelines. We have exercise video technique analysis. I hired an executive chef to make about 5 new recipes every month for the inner circle. We have a ton of new manuals and video courses that we've put out. So, I mean, it's at this point, it started in 2015. It's 2022. We have like 7 years worth of content on there. And I know a lot of memberships, what they do is they only put that month's program up. So it's that month's program, and then they take off the previous ones. And I've always hated that, mainly because when I want them to get everything. Like I want them to have everything. So if you join, you get literally every single thing I've put out since December of 2015. Every single recipe, every single exercise, every single workout, like everything is on there. So when you sign up, you get all of it. And I like that, because I think the idea for some people is, well, if I take everything down, then they'll want to stay on for the next month. My idea is, if I give them so much now that they're just blown away, they'll want to stay on just because they want to support me. And like, that's the kind of business that I want to build. I want to build a business that isn't making people stay on for fear of missing out. I want a business that people stay on because they like me so much. Like that's what I want. I want them to, like, I want to support him, even if they don't need it anymore. Like, I'm just going to pay because I want to support him because of how much he's given. That's the type of business I want.
Oh my God. I love that so much. This is so amazing. I literally, this whole episode, I'm like, no, this will be the quote I want to pull. No, this is going to be it. No, this is going to be it. I love it. Okay. Are you ready to get into rapid fire questions?
Yeah. Fair warning. I'm awful with rapid fire. And usually, like, if someone will say rapid fire, and then I'll just be like, so I'll do my best, but I usually suck with them.
Okay. Favorite wellness product right now?
Wellness product. Oh man. You know what? My walking pad that I just got. It's basically like this super small, sleek, treadmill that doesn't go, it's just for extra steps. So like, I usually would be doing it during a podcast, but I was running late. So I just hopped on like this, but yeah, it's an easy way to get more steps in. I love it.
Love that. Favorite thing to listen to when you work out?
Oh, it changes. I think right now, probably audiobooks. Just, I'm a huge fan of audiobooks when I'm working out. I've tried to get into podcasts. I'm super impatient with, sometimes they don't talk about what I want them to talk about, and they're just off. Like, I like the audiobooks. So big fan of listening to those.
Love that. Software that you can't run your business without?
Email. I think most software is overrated, to be honest. I think most software is, like, a lot of coaches use these different programs that like, hey, you sign up for us and like, we'll give you all the templates that you need. I'm a big fan of not building your house on someone else's lawn.
Yep.
And so, like, for my entire business has always been built on my end. So like, for one-on-one coaching, I used Microsoft Word and email. That was it. I didn't use another fucking program, like, because there are these other programs that if that business goes out of business, you're out of business and you
Yep.
can't contact your fucking clients anymore.
Yep.
So like, I would rather do that. Yeah. So I just think email is the best. And even like, I have an app for my inner circle. I didn't build it for Apple. It's not on the Apple store. It's a web app.
Yeah.
Because number one, Apple takes 30% of your income, which I'm like, fuck you, absolutely not.
Wow.
Second, they get to decide if your app is up to date or whatever it is. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. It's like, I'm just going to have a web app that is, I have 100% of the profit and it's equally as easy to use. So like,
Yeah.
I don't like doing anything where I have to build my house on someone else's lawn.
I love that so much. Best business advice you ever got?
Just help people.
Mm.
Like, that's really it. Like, just help people. Whenever I've chased money, my anxiety has gone up and my business has gotten worse. Whenever I've chased just helping people, my anxiety has gone down and my business has improved. So for me, it's just super simple. Just help people and the rest will come.
Oh, I love that. All right. I feel like this one's going to be rough for you. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Israel. Super easy.
Wow.
That's it.
Amazing. Advice you would give to your younger self?
That one's tough for me. I would probably tell myself to stop wearing 2 earrings. I just think that was a bad look, but used to wear 2 big diamond stud earrings. Just probably wasn't a good look.
I love it.
Younger self, in terms of business, I would probably, here's the thing. I don't even know if I would change anything just because so much of what I did helped me get to where I am right now. But I think I would probably just reinforce the idea of, hey, what you're doing is right. So there were a lot of times when I did question it. And I remember there was one time where a family friend of ours, like my older brother, had a friend and his parents, we were very good family friends with. We went to synagogue together, all this stuff. And when I first started posting content online, I was posting on Facebook and LinkedIn and all this stuff. And I called them strength lessons. So every day I would post a new strength lesson to try and help people. And this is like 2011, 2012. And I'll never forget, one morning, probably like 3 months after I started doing this every day, I got an email from the father of our family friend. And this is a guy who's like been like such a good friend to me and my family. And he just basically, he's like, Jordan, stop posting all of this fitness content. It's clogging up my feed. And I remember I replied, his name, I'm not going to give his full name, but Mark was his name. And I said, and I remember sort of being there, I was sort of hurt by it because this is a guy who I've known since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I was just like, thinking back, he probably just had a shitty day and he didn't know what he just like he took it out in the wrong person. But I was hurt by it and I questioned myself and I said, fuck it. And I wrote back and I said in an email, I was like, Mark, if you don't fucking like it, you can unfollow me. And I remember my mom got so mad because he must have forwarded it to my mom or told her about it. And she was like, you cannot speak to people like that. I was like, he shouldn't speak to me like that. If he doesn't like it, he can unfollow me. Like, that's it. And then years later, after my business had grown and everything, we all were having dinner together. And I was like, Mark, aren't you glad that I didn't take your advice? And I could, his face got so like embarrassed. He was like, thank God you didn't, like, to his credit, he was like, yeah, thank God you didn't take my advice, but just reinforcing you're doing the right thing no matter what people say.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. What a good story. All right. Last one lesson that you took from the pandemic that you want to keep with you.
One lesson I took from the pandemic, man, now my mind is racing with like political shit and just like so much nonsense in my head right now. I'm like, all right, what would make sense to say? I don't want to like piss people off too bad. Yeah, turn off the news. That's a great one. Fuck the news. Fuck the news. The news is awful. And it's funny because I've been on a big fuck the news like rampage, and I've had a couple inner circle members actually get mad at me because they're journalists, and they'd be like, you're like, I've had 2 inner circle members get really mad. They're like, you're saying journalism is bad and I was like, no, I'm not. Like, you hear me all the time talk about how the fitness industry, like, fuck the fitness industry, I'm not saying like I'm a fitness coach. Like, I'm not saying like fuck all fitness coaches. I'm saying pay attention to who's shitty out there and like make sure you're blocking that from your field of view. I'm saying like, I don't care if it's CNN or if it's Fox, it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
All of it. So
Yeah.
stop watching it. Like there are some great news sources out there, but the news is designed to, they're making money. Like that's what their job is, to make money, and they're going to put whatever the fuck they can in front of your face to get you to watch it more and to be more scared. So
it's gotten so bad. I had this conversation this morning with one of my friends who's a journalist. And I was like, I got some email this morning from Apple News that I never signed up for. And the top 3 articles were telling me that I was going to die today in some different way. It was number 1, that the polls were at unprecedented high temperatures. And then the second one, and I was like, so fine then, just let me die. Take me off of your email list.
Yes.
I don't care. Like, just, you're not doing anyone a service by saying all of this crazy alarmist stuff, because we're all just turning you off.
Correct.
Like, it's not having the same effect that it did for our parents, where they're like, oh God, I better watch. Our entire generation is like, well, screw you. I just go away. Like, I don't care anymore. And it's just, as an industry, I think they're totally shooting themselves in the foot with all this like clickbait alarmist, like it's getting insane.
Journalism has changed from what it used to be. And there are some good journalists out there still. Absolutely. But overall, the industry has massively changed. And that's why like so many journalists are now going to just their own personal pages to build up their own personal brand, as opposed to working for another company, which I think that's probably going to be better for journalism than trying to work for these huge companies that don't give a shit about the actual journalists. They only care about bringing in money for the company. It's I mean,
or even what the real story is. All they care about is bringing in money. So it really is getting crazy. All right, Jordan, this was, I think, one of my favorite episodes ever. Where can everybody find you? How can they listen to your podcast? Give us all the details.
So I got the Jordan Syatt mini podcast, which is fitness related. I have a how to become a personal trainer business podcast. And if you Google my name, Jordan Syatt, it'll come up, whatever you want. I'm on every platform.
Amazing. Okay. This is